400 years of being hated individually, systemically, chronically, institutionally, and yet the best of the black tradition is what? Teaching the world so much about love. I could just turn on John Coltrane's The Love Supreme right now and say that. Just let you take it in. Or I could read passages from Toni Morrison's Beloved. A love so thick that it takes the form of the killing of your precious baby because you don't want your baby dirtied and thingified by white supremacist persons, practices, institutions, structures. I could read the love-soaked essays of James Baldwin, the son of Harlem. Never went to college, but at least 2 colleges went through him. When he would say over and over again, love forces us to take off the mask we know we cannot live within, but fear we cannot live without. Courage, interrogation. There's never been a figure on the American stage, given all of the genius and talent of Eugene O'Neill, and probably the greatest indictment ever written of the American empire, and the Iceman cometh, or Tennessee Williams, or Arthur Miller, or August Wilson, or Adrian Kennedy. But I'm talking about Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun. Has there ever been a figure with more love than Mama on the American stage? 5 generations enacted in her attempt to bequeath and to transmit what the Isley brothers would call a caravan of love to that younger generation. Walter teach Travis in light of old man Walter, you all know the play, who died, who bequeathed $10,000 to see whether they'll get to that vanilla suburb or not. But that's not the end and aim of it. The aim is measuring people based on their courageous attempt to cultivate the capacity to think for themselves, to learn how to love and to laugh and to hope. I could turn on Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. Every note and the silence between the notes. Save the babies. Who really cares? Stevie Wonder's Love and the Need of Love. But this love that we're talking about again is not abstract. It is concrete, and it is as real as a heart attack.
I did not want to interrupt that immediately because that was Cornel West. Telling you exactly how it is. I mean, every time I hear him speak, shiver me timbers. He kills the stage, dude. He kills the mic. Like, no iller MC than Cornel West when it comes to speaking truth to power. It's a great way to, I feel, a great way to start this up because I don't know what else to start it up with because what I'm going to get into is not anywhere near the beautiful words of Cornel West or the wonderful people he had mentioned. No. Unfortunately, there was a round table in the middle of the afternoon that most of us weren't invited to in Dallas. Now, I don't know too much about it. I kind of just popped in a little bit and said, hey, how are you? And the rhetoric, man. The rhetoric is what really caught me. And I only caught a glimpse of Trump's beginning speech and Bill Barr's beginning and end. And woo-wee wow-wow, the oof, the language. And I feel like this is like how we approach the Outer Worlds possibility of the future, where we have a board members dictating how we're going to fight viruses and decide who gets which resources on what settlement of planets. It's kind of weird how eerily similar that video game is. But yeah, when I just popped into this, I heard some language that was terrifying, threatening, tyrannical, to say the least. But you know, that was only like brief, out of context clips, right? Like, there's no way that this was, I don't know, harmful to the zeitgeist or to public relations or in any way divisive. I don't think this would be that. I can't wait to see the rally tomorrow. That's a yep. Or wait, did they mark it for Juneteenth? Tell me they marked it for Juneteenth to really stamp it in there, because I thought it was tomorrow. Let me hold up. Yeah. Trump's upcoming Tulsa rally on Juneteenth sparks concern. I thought it was tomorrow, but who? Nope. Nope, he's really making that one stick. I mean, that's the thing about politics, too, is that it's always about the timing, and it's always weird how upfront about this he is. It's almost like you can start putting together a formula of how bad news is going to come out. What kind of fucking article is this? Is this a picture or a fucking video? Am I supposed to go to the Situation Room right now? This is how CNN sort... What am I looking at? Is this... Is this journalism? I don't think so. That was confusing. What am I supposed to do? Just watch the fucking videos. Like, go fuck you. Alright, let's see what the press secretary has to say. No. Alright, fine. It's a video. Alright, Jesus. That was a fucking gallery picture.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
Yeah, unfortunately, I began with Cornel West and then just got right into the Fash lane. Vroom, vroom. Yeah.
At a rally of black activists in Tulsa, Oklahoma, noticeable tension over President Trump's upcoming visit to the city, where next week he'll stage his first political rally in months. Protesters are anxious about the date Trump chose for the rally, June 19th, known as Juneteenth, the day which marks the end of slavery in the U.S.
Just knowing the comments that he makes and how he speaks to people, I just don't see it being very positive, especially not for our community.
But Senator Kamala Harris, a leading contender to be Joe Biden's running mate, is decidedly more blunt, tweeting, "This isn't just a wink to white supremacists, he's throwing them a welcome home party." The White House staunchly defending the president's choice of Tulsa and that date. His press secretary saying African Americans are, quote, very near and dear to his heart, and he wants to highlight what he's done for them.
It's a meaningful day to him, and it's a day where he wants to share some of the progress that's been made as we look forward and more that needs to be done.
But tonight, Tulsa is also reeling from the kinds of racial tensions that the president has been known to stoke. A city police major being blistered by the mayor and black leaders for his comment on a radio show this week about the rates of police shooting African Americans in Tulsa.
We're shooting African Americans about 24% less than we probably ought to be based on the crimes being committed.
The major then refused to
talk about
apologize.
this.
Speaking to CNN, Travis Yates said that he meant that systemic racism in policing doesn't exist, but he said he recognized racism does exist and calls it our, quote, sin nature. He also said that he stands by his comments and added he was just quoting research. And last week, Tulsa police were criticized when they arrested a black teenager.
I mean, I really hope they didn't, shorten his interview because it was even more extremely racist. Man, I'm not even going to get to this round table now. This fucking rabbit hole just gone dig it fucking self right now. I forgot his name. It's easy for me to forget a fucking racist's name. That's funny, that's funny. Nature. That's funny, that's funny, that's funny. Oh man, I can't believe I forgot that bro's name. Gotta go in and look at all the sources. And the sources. Fuck. Alright, it was probably in that video anyways. I'm gonna blame it on the weed. Oh, nope. Too far. Right there. Travis Yates. Travis Yeats. Oh, yeah.
Well, I know we live in an era where everybody apologizes, but quite frankly, my apology's not going to make anything go away.
Only on 8, a Tulsa police officer.
Come on,
now
stop
defending
editing it.
himself
Stop interrupting
after
him and
causing
just let the
nationwide
racist talk.
controversy on a local
It's the only
radio
time like
show.
I want a
Thanks for joining us
racist to
tonight,
like
6
just
on Neely
like
Jones
have his
60.
time. Like
And
the
I'm
journalist should
Christie.
just shut
Major
the fuck
Travis
up.
Yates says his comments about police shootings and
Let's get
black
it.
suspects were taken out of context. Tonight in a KTOL exclusive, the Major talks with Channel 8's Maureen Wirtz.
Are you a racist? Is this...
It's ridiculous. You know, and the funny thing is, what's not funny is, we've weaponized that word, right? If we don't like somebody, we use that word.
Tulsa Police Major Travis Yates now defending himself after telling a local radio host, quote, police are shooting African Americans about 24% less than we ought to be based on the crimes being committed.
He said what he said, and he said what he's a grown man. He said what he said, and he meant what he said. It's like he's trying to appease a certain audience, and that audience is the law enforcement community.
Marcus Harper, a Tulsa police sergeant, says even though Yates made the statements as a private citizen, they could influence other police officers.
This is something that's been going on over time, all right? And what can you say to him when he's exercised his First Amendment rights?
It's not the first time Yates has made comments that caused a stir. In 2016, he was reassigned within TPD after saying law enforcement was at war.
No one is attacking me on whether I'm saying whether it's true or not. They're just attacking me oftentimes because they don't like what I say. You know, the time I said that there was a war against law enforcement, there were 9 officers that week in the country that had been assassinated.
As for Yates' most recent comments, Tulsa Mayor G.T. Bynum responded today, saying he isn't sure about Yates' intentions, but believes the major owes Tulsa.
If there were 9 officers assassinated, why was that not reported? Why am I following another fucking rabbit hole? It's like allegation after allegation. That's a heavy charge too, like assassinated. Federal officer killed in Oakland shooting near, that's not Oklahoma. And it's kind of weird that like the journalist didn't comment on that either. Cause you think if like that was an event, like some like that happened, they would be like, yeah, remember this. She just kind of moved on, like he didn't say that. But again, I cannot find anything about 9 officers assassinated. There was a police shootout in 2016? What the fuck did he say? Cause she just moved right past that, like ooh, that's some Alex Jones bullshit.
It's not the first time Yates has made comments that caused a stir. In 2016, he was reassigned within TPD after saying law enforcement was at war.
No one is attacking me on whether I'm saying whether it's true or not. They're just attacking me oftentimes because they don't like what I say. You know, the time I said that there was a war against law enforcement, there were 9 officers that week in the country that had been assassinated.
9 officers in that week that had been assassinated. Okay, I didn't listen to his sentence fully, and then when I went back and did, wow, what? Are you saying these are coordinated assassinations, or was it just so that on separate days during that week 9 officers died? And I'm not sure what you mean by assassination. I think he might have meant murder, but assassination makes it sound like it's definitely contrived and coordinated. So, it's weird that an officer would be that paranoid and conspiratorial. Is that safe for a public? I don't know. If I was constantly shouting about how the frogs are gay, would you want me to police your streets? Think about it. Shit.
African Americans
Can I finish
about
this up?
24% less than we probably ought to be based.
I mean, it is also interesting with the timing that we have the Tulsa police officer saying this racist ass shit right here. And then it just so happens that next week Trump is going to that same town. It's just, there's a lot of race tension in that area, and a lot of it is just, I don't want to call it coincidental, but it's just, timing is everything, and it hurts to see that timing is used to, yet again, piss everybody off. So I'm going to move on from that. Head over to this channel right here. This guy's doing live videos straight from the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle. There's no reason why people shouldn't just check out and see that the people aren't really raping and pillaging as much as other people say they are. They're actually just kind of organizing themselves, chilling, listening to music, watching documentaries. It just sounds like a big hippie slumber party for radical change. And yet here we are with the Roundtable of Doom.
Great job. Great job. Thank you
The
very
head
much
of it
for being
is
here. It's an honor.
Our president, Donald J. Trump.
Very important time.
In case you didn't know who that was.
A lot of things are happening, and I think when it all ends up, it's going to end up very good for everybody.
Oh yeah, and I want to keep some tabs open because some of the shit that I heard them talking about sounded like a lot of initiatives that we're going to expect to have affect our lives for the next few years. So, let's get cracking.
It's an honor to be at Gateway Church with the Attorney General, our great Attorney General, William Barr. Thank you.
To his left, or no, to my left, to his right,
And
William Barr,
my friend
Attorney
Ben
General.
Carson, who's done a fantastic job at HUD, Secretary.
The white Ben Carson. Live and direct. Well,
And
I
a
guess
young
this is
star,
recorded now,
Jerome Adams, General. Where is Jerome? Jerome? Along with a lot of my friends out in the audience, in fact, a lot of the great political leaders from Texas, I see. Some great, great friends, and I want to thank you all for being here. Faith leaders, members of law enforcement, so important. We want law and order. We have to have a lot of good things, but we have to have law and order.
There's that phrase again.
Got to have some strength. You have to have strength. You have to do what you have to do. And you look.
Law and order, strength, gotta do what you gotta do. These are all things that you can put on posters for everybody to see constantly so they don't forget the mission of the country.
Look at Seattle. We just came in. We just see over the screen, and we've been hearing about it. Bill and I were talking about it. The law and order. Look at what happened in Seattle. They took over a city, a big city, Seattle. It's a chunk of it, a big chunk. Can't happen. That couldn't happen here, I don't think, in the state of Texas, could it? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Was that for the cops or the citizens? Or is it all the same? Is Texas ready to go to war with Seattle already? Like, what the fuck?
So I want to thank Pastors Robert Morris and Steve Dullen.
What?
They're great people.
Just because the people reclaimed some of the land?
Great reputation. And Gateway Church, the team has been incredible in hosting us. And I'd now like to ask Pastor Morris and Bishop Jackson to lead us in prayer. Thank you.
Thank you. Lord, we need you. We need you at this time in our country. And I thank you for our president. I thank you, Lord, for our leaders. I thank you, thank you, thank you. I know in the Bible that when something was emphasized, it was repeated. Holy, holy, holy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lord, that we are about to bring tremendous progress to a problem that's been here for a long time. And I thank you for this administration. And Lord, we pray your blessings and your guidance today on this meeting. In Jesus' name.
Jesus' name. Father, we thank you so much for what you're doing today. You have revealed so many things that are untoward, even evil. But we ask, according to Isaiah 50, verse 4, that you would give us the tongue of the learned, that we should know how to speak to the heart of this nation. Give us a word in season to him that's weary, and waken us morning by morning, God, that we would hear and speak. We have a great, courageous president who's a problem solver. And let him speak as your mouthpiece and act as your instrument. And we thank you for this time. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Now, here's my issue, is that it was a very interesting Bible verse there to really, he prayed to God for a great tongue so that he can speak to the heart of this nation. And then, that just really gets my dog whistles all going, and my undertones, subliminals, rhetorics, all of that is just already interwoven here. Like, we have to find pieces of the American myth to see what we can pick apart with the true, not outcome, because I'm not a part of the plan, but story. I mean, the mythology that they're creating, which becomes history. They always say that it's written by the victor, but already super stupid, interesting language. The white man to his right seems to have focusing on a problem, one problem. He only said problem that's been here for a long time. So that's weird, because I thought we were going to talk about economics, police reform. And there was one other thing with the third guy, because there's, and the economy, probably. There's always the economy. It's always the economy. So whatever problem he's talking about one problem, and I haven't figured out what it is yet, because we're only 3 minutes in, and yet this is so tantalizing. The fact that I feel like they are pulling the mask off a little bit on the class warfare, that the problem is poor people, and that they have too much, and they should be more grateful.
Bishop, thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank you, Bishop.
But that was also like the out of context shit that I had gotten just from like 2 minutes of listening to it at work.
Thank you very much, Pastor. That's great.
It's more like 15 minutes.
We're going to be discussing some pretty important things today, I think. It's all important, but the timing of this is very appropriate. This was set up actually a long time.
See? And then here we are. Was I not saying that timing is important? He says timing of this is appropriate. It's weird how politics really actually does function a lot on a time cycle. It's a machine. It's a machine. Remember that.
Long time ago, but the timing is
Sugar,
very
choo,
appropriate.
choo.
We are here to listen to community.
You want to get the fuck out of here?
We'll be hearing from
I can tell.
a lot of the good ones, some of the great ones, but a lot of the good ones, and to present our vision of advancing the cause.
Might as well get some water.
bitch.
Camp?
Yep.
Camp.
Isn't that what it is?
What's camp? Oh, work?
Yep.
You mean, oh, nice. I was gonna call it something else. But that's like the same thing. It's the same old, same old. How about you?
It was fucking hard today. It was loud. Just straight screaming all day. Nothing you can do.
Such scream?
Yep, they all screamed with them, honestly.
That's awesome.
No, it was honestly a little bit difficult though. A lot of fence fighters. There was like a tour today too, so we were just, let them clean up and stuff. It was just a lot of people. And a new guy just basically had to fucking get yelled at all day because he didn't do anything wrong. It's just like it's so fucking loud he can't hear. I see, can you grab that dog?
No.
You see who? You see Ernie, can you grab that dog?
I'm
And
Ernie.
it just takes him forever to do it.
Who names Ernie anymore?
I have 2 Ernies. I've
Ernie?
never met in my life.
You got 2?
I thought like
Damn.
you've met one of the Ernies. He has like long hair kind of. It's like brown and he has like a black muzzle.
Oh, you're talking about a dog.
It is.
I thought you were talking about the employee.
Oh no, his name is Federico.
Okay.
Federico. Took me a couple times to say it right.
He the Fed.
Yep.
Sorry to hear that, bud.
It don't matter.
Oh, yeah?
Learning every day.
That's the way to look at it. Oh, my word. All right. It's the wacko weirdo rebel scum Jedi hero. Fuck.
Cause of justice and freedom.
Wait, what? No, not me. Or are you talking to Tucker? Are you talking to Tucker?
I'm talking to you.
What'd you
No,
say?
I'm not talking to you. But we are gonna order food in a little bit. You ordering with us or
What kind?
We don't know. Did you get a haircut?
No.
Maybe it's all pushed to the side or something. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit short for all of a sudden. No. Rosebud. Okay, well, we'll think about food and then we'll come back to you then.
What the fuck, bro? I'm not picking. Are you guys serious? You're the pickiest shit in the world.
Food and then we'll come back to you.
Oh, I thought you were like, well, you think about it, and then...
Jesus.
All right.
Put your firearm back in the holster. Goddamn.
I only just clicked the safety off. I just barely unbuckled the holster. Jesus Christ. That was like a level 2 hurricane. I don't know.
From day one, I've been fighting for the forgotten men and women of America, and I think we've been doing.
Ooh. And he even says right here, boom, that he has been fighting for the forgotten men and women. And the ironic thing is, I don't know if it's ironic, but the funny thing is that back in the day, your boy had wrote about him using this phrase. I sure did. I sure did-o. I sure did. In fact, I spent 3 months writing about this douchebag. He had already been a president for about a year to 2 years, and I had enough. I think the last thing I had wrote was around the time that I thought Bernie was gonna fucking take it, but somehow we ended up with, you know who. Fucking bullshit. I got some shit here, there. What's funny though is I might as well. I gotta broken into sections here, dog. Persuasion compilation. It was originally just written up to convince people why policy-wise Trump was a bad idea. And then we found out that, publicly-wise, he's also a shitty idea.
Outlaw wings.
Wings.
They're good. Have you had them?
Mm-mm.
Goddamn. Like Buffalo Wild Wings who?
Who? Okay. How many do y'all usually get?
We've only gotten like
Is it like 6 counts?
something like that, yeah. I'll show you in a second or something. Okay.
Okay. Trump does absolutely nothing with the working class. Very first paragraph that I wrote, I think, about Trump was that he does not give a fuck about the original forgotten man. The very first thing I wrote about him right here was questioning who he was actually talking about. Because the thing about Trump is that he is a propagandist. He's really good with language and getting a certain message across because he knows that words have power. And it's mainly in the context that you use them more than your actions that are important with Trump. And I feel like I caught on to that at some point. Yale University professor William Graham Sumner coined the forgotten man in 1876, explaining that it is the person who is coerced into helping the people at the bottom of the hierarchy through charity or regulation. Right here is an article by another douchebag who explained that the forgotten man is the man who is forced to pay charity and taxes because his wealth is his wealth. He is tired of these poor people always wanting some of his wealth. Stay the fuck off his property. Here's an article, link dropped in Twitch chat. Check that out. It's a very boring and old thing from an old-timey racist, and enjoy. That's Trump's definition right there in the Twitch stream chat. That is Trump's definition of forgotten man. It's not the forgotten men and women who are constantly pushed out of the voting booth, forced to vote during a fucking pandemic, and also a man who screams about how mail-in voting is going to be really bad for us, even though the pandemic's just as bad. So, oh man, we are not the forgotten men and women. He is talking about his rich, wealthy friends who are tired of paying taxes. They just want to run the shit because they think they can do it better than the government that has been corrupted by their money and has become effectively ineffective. And bada-ching.
Doing a great job of it. We've been doing a lot in many other ways, but it gets lost a little bit sometimes, Bishop.
All right. So, let's begin.
Yeet. Oh, Billy the Kid's menu, though. Why wouldn't I? $5 or $10? Yeah?
You're funny.
Why is that?
Hey, come on. That's not what it is.
Why am I funny?
Because you call me out on it. You don't get it, man. You don't get it. It's literally like in general. It's like.
I know, but it could be because of the stanky ass weed that I'm smoking, and I feel like you can't tell the difference. I'm sorry.
You're funny. You're funny.
I took hella hits before you came in, but it could be that. Very much, it could equally be that. But yeah, I'll shoot you Venmo.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. You'll have to do it to Ashley, though.
Yeah, no shit.
Because I don't got shit.
Yeah, it's been how long since you downloaded that app?
Never. I'm never going to download that app.
You did. And you failed.
I tried to, but I could not.
No, you did and you failed.
Alright, so you you know you're supposed to select 2 of them?
I did.
Are you sure? Because I see only
garlic parmesan and then the honey something.
Oh, honey buffalo?
Yeah.
Or honey barbecue?
No.
Honey
yeah.
buffalo?
No, I do the barbecue. Buffalo gross.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool is right. Cool as right.
As cool as can be.
Cool as can be.
Hey.
Where's go? You got his mine, or you, and then you just have that new one. That's cool with you, yeah?
Oh. All right. Probably still gonna need another hit though. Oh man. Oh. I'm sure that one day they'll call it like Trumpinese or some shit.
You know, that gets lost. We've done so much, and a lot of the things that we've done that we're very proud of gets lost. Like, we got criminal justice reform passed, and they've been trying to do it for many years, and they haven't been able to get passed.
He has no bill to actually cite.
We secured permanent and record-setting funding for HBCUs, that's historically black colleges and universities. It's all done. We created tens of thousands of jobs with opportunity zones. Tim Scott, and we had a great senator from South Carolina that many of you know. He came with an idea, and I thought it was a great idea, and we got it done. A lot of people said that could never happen, but nobody thought it would be successful like it is. Tens of thousands of jobs and investment in communities where that money wouldn't go. And we achieved the lowest black unemployment in the history of our country prior to the plague coming in from China. And we'll get it back again soon. It'll happen soon. That'll happen very soon. In recent days, there's been vigorous discussion about how to ensure fairness, equality, and justice for all of our people. Unfortunately, there are some trying to stoke division and to push an extreme agenda which we won't go for, that will produce only more poverty, more crime, more suffering. This includes radical efforts to defund, dismantle, and disband the police. They want to get rid of the police forces. They actually want to get rid of it. And that's what they'd do, and that's where they'd go. And you know that because at the top position, there's not going to be much leadership. There's not much leadership left. Instead, we have to go the opposite way. We must invest more energy and resources in police training and recruiting and community engagement. We have to respect our police. We have to take care of our police. They're protecting us, and if they're allowed to do their job, they'll do a great job. And you always have a bad apple no matter where you go. You have bad apples.
I think that was some of the language that had kind of caught me there.
That'll happen very soon. In recent days, there's been vigorous discussion about how to ensure fairness, equality, and justice for all.
Gotta protect the cops, because if they can do their job, if they're
they're
allowed to do their job, they'll do a great job.
People, and they're taking care of people that in many
Sees
cases
no problem
they never
with the
even met
police
before.
right now.
And at great danger, at great risk. They get shot for no reason whatsoever other than they're wearing blue. They get knifed. You saw that the other night. It was a horrible thing. But there is no opportunity without safety. In Chicago, 48 people were shot and 18 people were killed in one day, Sunday, May 31st. Think of that. 48 people shot, 18 people killed. You don't hear about it too much. Every child should be able to grow up in a safe community, free from violence and fear. They've taken a lot of
God damn it. it up right now. Chicago returned 18 murders on May 31st, making it the city's deadliest day in 60 years. The dubious milestone was reached on a day Chicago was roiled by another round of protests and looting following the Memorial Day death of Floyd in police custody. So, during a dubious milestone, so it's kind of doubtful on what happened, during protests and what they, quote, said, looting, following the Memorial Day death, very next day, that is the day that Trump is talking about. The day after George Floyd was murdered. To get very specific, tensions were high, and we are having and going to have a hard time tracking how this happened. Okay. Can't really say that it's the protesters who did all this damage. You cannot really say that. Not unless you were there. I got heavy really quick.
The police protection away in Chicago.
And so we got to also acknowledge that it was a situation caused by the police. The deadliest day in Chicago in 60 years was caused by the police. We've seen the differences in how they react to protesters.
And they have great police in Chicago. I know Chicago very well, but they're not allowed to do what they can do better than anybody. They could do the job very easily. Americans are good and...
Do what job? Do what job very easily? They could, if they were allowed to. What are you talking about?
Virtuous people.
It's vague language. Vague, dangerous language. You build people up with a propensity for violence, then you eventually get violent people out of these broad answers. I mean, all we see is these one-man gun shows that, of course, it's just going to lead to somebody thinking that they're the one-man gun show who's going to save America. And all they need to think is that the president is allowing him to do his job.
We have to work together to confront bigotry and prejudice wherever
I love
they
those
appear.
fucking movies, but this is nuts.
But we'll make no progress and heal no wounds by falsely labeling tens of millions of decent Americans as racist or bigots. We have to get everybody together. We have to be in the same path, I think, Pastor. If we don't do that, we have problems, and we'll do that. We'll do it. I think we're going to do it very easily. It'll go quickly, and it'll go very easily. We have so many different elements of strength in this country. We have such potential in this country.
Is he saying that getting past race is going to be really easy? Because so far, it hasn't been easy.
We have the greatest potential. We have the greatest country in the world. But we get off subject. We start thinking about things that don't matter or don't matter much. And the important things we don't even discuss. But we're here to discuss some very important things today. Politicians make false charges, and they're trying to distract from their own failed records. They have some very bad records. And these are usually the ones that cause the problems or can't solve the problems. These are the same politicians who shipped our jobs away and took tremendous advantage of all Americans, but African-American middle class.
The same Americans who shipped all of our jobs away. That buzzword to hit the working class right where it hurts. Efficiency. Cost savings. Quarterly earnings. That's what took your jobs away.
So much of that wealth and that money and those jobs went to China and other countries, and they get trapped. They get trapped. They get trapped in a government morass. They get trapped in.
Is this like, do Americans want Chinese jobs? Because they just moved the factory work over there. It's a weird interest to have to want Chinese jobs. Chinese people didn't want those jobs so much that they had to put nets to catch people. Remember? That was a thing.
In bad government schools. So I'm going to be announcing 4 steps to build safety and opportunity and dignity. First, we're aggressively pursuing economic development in minority communities. We're doing it very powerfully. We've done it with opportunity zones, but we're going to go above that. At the heart of this effort is increasing access to capital.
The fuck is an opportunity zone? That just sounded like another buzzword to me. And like immediately too, it says Opportunity Zones Chicago. ¿Qué es eso? Huh? Come on. Hit me with that good. Hit me with that good. Oof. Interesting. The state of Illinois is participating in the Opportunity Zone program offered through the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act signed into law on December 22nd, 2017. Whoop. So this has been in motion since 2017, the shitty tax bill that I also wrote about. I must have missed this. I didn't actually read like the whole thing. I was mostly focused on the income tax section and mostly for companies. So I guess by focusing on that, I fucked up as a person to acknowledge that there was probably a lot more to this law that was ready to fuck us in the ass right when we turned around. This new federal program encourages private investment in low-income communities. Gentrify my hood. It's that Your Old Droog song coming to life, bro. And they put it on the websites. They put displacement on websites. This is, I mean, are they going to provide low opportunities for low income communities, like for them? Or is it qualified investors, state governments? Because I mean, like, you get qualified investors, that's, you know, whoever the investor is interested. It could be anywhere from real estate to Starbucks. It could be, it's definitely not going to be rehabilitation centers or public housing. That's for sure. It's not going to be anything that we think would actually probably help a good amount of the community that is actually still losing their jobs right now. It's funny that there's no need for conspiracy theories. They put it on the right here. This is Chicago government website. I'm not misinterpreting this shit. I'm just saying that usually private investment, qualified investors have little interest in things that do not make profit. That's all I'm saying. And then they're also getting tax cuts for these investments. So they're basically getting them on a discount. Yay. That's how you get rich people to pay more taxes, isn't it? According to the IRS, an opportunity zone is an economically distressed community area where new investments may be eligible for preferential tax treatment. Community areas qualify as opportunity zones if they have been nominated by the state and certified by the U.S. Treasury. Opportunity zones must be created within communities as defined by Section Law 45, laws, fake pieces of paper, census tracts with a poverty rate of at least 20%, or where the median family income does not exceed 80% of statewide median income. A maximum of 25% of a state's low-income census tracts may be designated as opportunity zones. What a fucking bummer. So, I mean, there's probably areas that are really devastated and empty that they can revitalize in American terms, but I'm just worried about, you know, the people who are still just within borders of that shit, so. Yep. I wonder if anybody in Chicago has looked at this map and been like, oh, fuck, man, that's It's my house. Let's see here. We're not going to make it through all of this speech tonight either. This is going to have to be a two-parter because I've already gone too far. I mean, goddamn. This looks like a large chunk of like a downtown district, but I've never really been to Chicago. I don't know dick about dick. Zoom out again. It is mostly the south side. A little bit of the northwest. Well, if you're out in Chicago, look that up, and if you don't like it, fucking fight it, because that's fucking some bullshit to constantly throw money at private investors, opportunities for private investors, and never for communities, because capitalism does not give a fuck about your community. They will find a use for it, whatever it may be, and they will bleed you dry. All right. Doesn't really say how it's going to help the communities. It just says this is what it is. And this is only Chicago's, and I'm going to assume that this is in a lot of other places. That's definitely going to get a whoop whoop from me. Totally excited for the future. Thank you, President Trump. There's no worries. No worries on this side, buddy.
For small businesses, and that's with minority owners.
Oh, it's for small businesses. Right, because small businesses will be able to outbid these large businesses for all these properties, right?
Very, very difficult for
okay.
some people. Been unfairly difficult. Second, we're confronting the healthcare disparities, including addressing chronic conditions and investing substantial sums in minority-serving medical institutions. We have medical institutions in some areas of our country that are a disgrace. I was going to say not up to standard. They're much worse than not up to standard. They're a disgrace. Take care of it. Third, we're working to finalize an
Dude, that's like some shit that you say when you're literally in a meeting at your company. Is like, take care of it. Like, you are a public servant, sir. You are the highest placed public servant. Like, this is gnarly that he tells, like, hospitals that he calls disgraceful without specifying who, what, when, where, why, that they should take care of it. What a dick.
Executive order that will encourage police departments nationwide to meet the most current professional standards for the use of force, including tactics for de-escalation. Also, we'll encourage pilot programs that allow social workers to join certain law enforcement officers so that they work together. We'll take care of our police. We're not defunding police. If anything, we're going the other route. We're going to make sure that our police are well trained, perfectly trained, they have the best equipment.
I mean, you know how to take that language, right? By just saying they're on the opposite side of defund the police. It's not necessarily the idea, it's the movement message. And he wants to militarize them. That's pretty flugging obvious. I don't have to argue that. It would be pointless to argue. Him and Bill Barr want to militarize the
Some of
shit
the
out
things
of it.
that we have heard, because I know a lot of the people in the audience and they're professionals and what they do, and they're successful people, and we're hearing things that are not even thinkable. I've never even heard of this before last week. It was like, it started about a week ago where I heard they want to close up all police forces. That's what their attack on a very liberal governor in the state of Washington is. We want the police force closed.
I like how radical left ideas are when you just don't explain them at all. Like, they just want to close them, you know? Just there's no alternatives to what a police is. We've just got to keep doing what we're doing. In fact, just keep giving them more money and civil forfeitures and qualified immunity and corrupt police unions and crazy ass seminars by some dude named Grossman. Like, can we please rethink what is possible? Because anything is damn near impossible. Or, I almost fell for it. It's all. Everything is possible. It's dumb.
It's not like they want to sort of bring a little money into something else. They want it actually closed. I'm thinking, what happens late at night when you make that call to 911 and there's nobody there? What do you have? What do you do?
It's like as if a community couldn't start their own neighborhood watch that has a hotline, a phone number. In fact, I'm pretty sure having a hotline is pretty cheap every year. I don't know how you get a shorter number so that people don't type like 1-800 blah blah blah, but these days it's pretty easy to throw shit on speed dial too, since we all have smartphones. There's also apps for that could probably make it even quicker. There's a lot of things that we can do if you just sit down and think about it. And
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
whether
dumb as shit. I'm
White,
about as
black,
dumb
or
as the
anybody
president.
else. I mean, what do? You're dialing and there's somebody breaking into a house and it happens to be a violent person. There are violent people around, Pastor. Even you will admit that, right? We want to think the best, but you have
Even
some
the pastor will
very
admit there's violent people in the world.
And when they're breaking into your house
He's read
at
the
12
Bible.
o'clock in the evening and you're sitting there and you don't have a police force, they're actually talking about not having a police force. Well, that's not happening with us. We're going to have stronger police forces because that's what you need. In Minneapolis, they went through
In response to people wanting change in how policing is done in America, we're going to police them even harder.
3 nights of hell.
Who is this? I really think this is almost in like a board meeting setup, and they are talking directly to the true voters of this nation. I'm just talking about big money, big money. It's not a hard lie to let big money run shit. So that's just my assumption here, and that's where I think a lot of this rhetoric comes from, because it's a lot of dog whistling, and I'm not the only one to feel this sense. Dr. Richard Wolff had just confirmed, I think like 3 days ago, that with the corona packages and reaction to it, we've already opened into class warfare terms. It's not open about it because, I mean, why would that be smart for them to reveal their hand?
And then I was insistent on having the National Guard go in and do their work. It was like a miracle. It's just everything.
Then he
stopped.
keeps threatening to use
And
the
I'll never
army
forget
against
the scene.
civilians.
It's not supposed to be a beautiful scene, but to me it was. After you watch policemen running out of a police precinct, and it wasn't their fault. They wanted to do what they had to do, but they weren't allowed to do anything. It wasn't really their fault, but they were running down the street. They weren't allowed to do what they're trained to do, and they took over the precinct. They essentially burned it down. I'm pretty good at construction, I want to tell you. That was almost what we call a complete renovation, if you're lucky. And it was a very sad thing. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. But we are very proud of the fact that I called. I said, I'm sorry, we have to have them
Gross.
go in. And they went in, and it was like a knife cutting butter right through. Boom. I'll never forget. You saw the scene on that road, wherever it may be, in the city, Minneapolis. They were lined up. Boom. They just walked straight. And yes, there was some tear gas and probably some other things, and the crowd dispersed and they went through. By the end of that evening, and it was a short evening, everything was fine, and you didn't hear too much about that location having problems anymore. They went to other locations, and the same thing would happen. As an
I
example,
can't
Seattle
believe like
would
kind of
be
how
so
fake this man is. Like his suit barely fits him, so his shoulders are a lot bigger than he really is. His hair isn't real, and neither is the face on his paint.
easy to solve. Would be so easy to solve. We have a governor here of a great state. It's called Texas. He would
Great
solve
state
it
of
very
Texas.
easily.
I sold 3 vacuums
As
in
would-
Texas. Word up.
As would other of your political leaders, including your lieutenant governor. They would solve it very easily. It's a lot of it's common sense. I don't even think it's courage. I think it's probably more courageous the other way, because I wouldn't want to be doing it the other way. It's very unsafe. So I just want to tell you.
I mean, with
that,
all the weapons and shit.
we're working on a lot of different elements having to do with law, order, safety, comfort, control.
Words you want to hear from your government before you fall asleep. And I mean, I don't want to throw any accusations out there. I just definitely think they want to bleed the life force dry out of you until you're just some robotnik robot that just gets things done for them because they're petty. They're petty.
But we want safety.
It's
we
that
want
simple.
compassion. We want everything.
We want safety. We want compassion. We want everything. It's funny how we can literally just throw phrases out. This man just throws phrases out and they can slip in between like very like harmful language to like completely innocuous, like nothing meaningless. And then all of a sudden there's that big like nuke bomb of language. They want everything. You could just put it into a clip and just say fuck it.
What happened 2 weeks ago was a disgrace when you see that. What happened on numerous occasions over the last 2 weeks, people were killed. Number of people were killed, and it was very, very terrible and very, very unfair. Number of them were police officers, and it was a very unfair situation. We don't want to see that. And with strength, you wouldn't even have that. They wouldn't be in a position to do the kind of damage that they've done. They've destroyed people, they've destroyed businesses, they've destroyed African-American owned small businesses that hopefully they're going to come back. We're providing funding for a lot of small businesses, and hopefully we'll be able to get everybody online and get funding to be able to open up their stores and their small businesses again.
Talking
But
about the
we're working to
opportunity
finalize
zones
an
for
executive
private
order
investors.
that will encourage police departments nationwide to meet the most current professional standards of force. And that means force, but force with compassion. But if you're going to have to really do a job, if somebody...
Force with compassion. This is that double speak, double think kind of language, bro. Force with compassion. I'm forcing you because I love you.
But he's really bad. You're going to have to do it with real strength, real power.
Real strength, real power. I mean, the people who really believe this man, like really truly believe the words that he's saying right now, are falling for a trap that we are the enemy. People who want change are the enemy. We heard that. That's the winds of a civil war, and he is just hungry as shit to watch us poor people kill each other. Like that's the what else are we trying to achieve here? I haven't figured it out. That's the only puzzle I can lead down to, is that they just the rich want to see a purge. Like with the internet, that'll entertain the fuck out of them in their bunkers and shit, right? That's my conspiracy theories. Please, someone send that to Alex for me. You know who. You know who.
You can't let that happen. What happened in New York City, the damage they've done. You have to dominate the streets.
You have to dominate the streets. This is how you run a democracy, ladies and gentlemen. You have to dominate the streets. I repeat again, if you do not understand how to run a democracy where people think they are free, you dominate their fucking streets.
And I was criticized for that statement. I made
this is 15 minutes in, and he's already hitting strongman tones.
Well,
like,
guess what? You know who dominated the streets? People that you don't want to dominate the streets. And look at the damage they...
People you don't want to dominate the streets dominated the streets. That's funny, because that is your neighbors. It is literally your neighbors. That's who I'm talking to. Who he's talking to is the poor people who want to redistribute wealth. You know, you know what I'm saying? It's the wealthier class that does not want a redistribution of wealth that's too heavy beyond their control. And those are the people that are afraid, that are dominating the streets. That's why he screams all night about anarchists, and eventually we'll get to cultural Marxism and all of this, that, and Jabberwocky.
They did. So I'll stick with that, and I think most of the people in this room, maybe every person in this room will stick with that. And we're doing it with compassion, if you think about it. We're dominating the street with compassion.
We're dominating the streets with compassion. He just keeps saying, we're killing with compassion, we're beating your baby with compassion, we're flashbanging you with compassion, we're sending people to the hospital with compassion. This is compassion. If you really... Oh, I'm catching on to the language now. We're just lucky they're not killing us.
Because we're saving lives, and we're saving businesses, we're saving families from being wiped out after working hard for 20 and 30 years. I saw the one woman, she worked 35 years building a store, and in one night it was totally wiped out. It's
Yeah.
terrible. And fourth, we're renewing.
I don't want to blame everything on systemic issues, but I mean, it does have a lot to do with systemic issues. And I don't even know if his story's true.
Renewing our call on Congress to finally enact school choice now. School choice is a big deal.
School choice now. That's one of them. That's an initiative. School choice now. Yes, sir. Oh, what the fuck? How does that go directly to fucking PragerU? Are you kidding me right now? Are you fucking kidding me right now? This is what I'm saying. This is why I went to this fucking round table, bro. Oh my god. No. No. That's a pretty small number, though. That's pretty cool. But fuck off. Wait, what? What's the difference between supporters and parents? That's just like single advocates? Good teachers want school choice. Oh my god. He shoots you right to a fucking propaganda pipeline. This shit is getting streamlined. Like, republicanism is reaching insane levels. Like, whoa. How I went from just trying to learn about an initiative, right? It leads me to the propagandist right-wing group, PragerU, not a university, who apparently is spearheading this school choice now. And I went down to find some more information, and I'm like, oh, teachers want school choice. While there are thousands of teachers who exercise their right to opt out of union membership, millions live in states or districts where they are required to pay dues or fees as a condition of employment. Hear Rebecca Friedrich speak for millions of teachers who advocate for school choice. So I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. And you get, I'm wearing the hero side, and then it goes directly to a video that's already on YouTube. That's already a propaganda video made by PragerU. Let's get the date. Let's just follow this through and see when this was uploaded.
What if schools had to compete for
2017. So they are using an initiative to push propaganda into people who think that the system is fucking broken. Cool. That's funny how, like, easy this shit is to find, and yet they just keep pushing out these QAnon things, these QAnon things, these QAnon things. Follow the fucking Q, right? This has nothing to do with why your school sucks.
students in the same way that businesses have to compete for customers?
Jesus Christ, that was
Would
too
schools
easy.
get better or worse? There's no need to guess. In almost every state and city where there is competition today, educational outcomes improve, often dramatically. This competition is called school choice, and many states and cities now embrace it. With the old model under which most American
This is gonna have to be a separate thing. I don't have time for this shit right now. Are you fucking kidding me? That's fucking crazy, bro. The relation between state and internet is buck. It is buck. Somebody, like, get a fucking historian, anthropologist, sociologist all over on the relation, and a political science major all up on the fact between the relationship between the state and the internet, because that shit would blow some motherfucking minds. Like, the fact that this led to this, fuck all of it. Not down. That was only the first website, though. That's not a government program. That's PragerU talking about it. But apparently it's been a movement for a while. Maybe here it is, the actual website. Federation for Children. The American Federation for Children and AFC Growth Fund seek to empower families, especially lower income families, with the freedom to choose the best K through 12 education for their children. Every 60 seconds, a child drops out of school. 69% of voters support school choice. There are 55 private school choice programs in 26 states. It still seems like it's an initiative to privatize schooling. Hold on. School choice is about fundamental right for parents to have access to the educational environment that serves their children best. American Federation of Children believes parents should have a wide range of high-quality schools or educational options to choose from, be it traditional public schools, public charter schools, private schools, or virtual learning. Only one of those is actually a public school. Private school choice through scholarship, tax credit programs, vouchers, education savings accounts, and individual tuition tax credits gives students, including those from low-income families or those with special needs, the opportunity to receive tuition to attend a private school that meets their needs immediately. Oh, there it is. I reached it. It's the tax credit programs. It's the vouchers. It's the education savings accounts. It's the tuition tax credits. And it is, in fact, just the tuition. Hey. Instead of paying taxes and sending your kid to public school, why not sign up for a tuition? Hey. And pay your taxes. Yeah, just read it a little bit closer. This is Betsy DeVos's wet dream right here. I don't know how this initiative is moving forward based on what they're talking about, but it seems like these are the important investments that our government is spending its time on. So let that marinate some bit and think about ladling some frying oil over your genitals if you have any.
Because access to education is the civil rights issue of our time, and I've heard that for the last, I would say, year, but it really is. It's the civil rights issue of our time.
Burn them if you got them.
When you can have children go to a school where their parents want them to go, and it creates competition, and other schools fight harder because all of a sudden they say, wow, we're losing it, we have to fight harder, it gets better. So many different ways. But there are groups of people against that. You have unions against it, you have others against it, and they're not against it for the right reasons. They're against it for a lot of the wrong reasons, and we're going to get that straightened out. We've done a lot of it. We've had tremendous success with choice. We had choice in a lot of ways. We also have choice in the military. You know, before I came here, the vets would wait online, Pastor. They'd be waiting. It wouldn't be acceptable to you. I know it wouldn't be acceptable to the bishop.
What up, Wizard Brad?
I know it's not going to be acceptable to you. They'd wait for 4 or 5 weeks to get
This
online.
shit's
A vet
fucking mind-blowing.
where they were sick, they were feeling badly, and they'd get online and they'd say, there's a 6-day wait, sir. There's a 2-week wait. There's a 1-month wait. And you'd have people online that weren't very ill, and they'd be terminally ill before they got to see a doctor. They'd die. And for years and years, they've been trying to get veterans' choice. That means if you can't get to a doctor reasonably quickly, you go outside, you go to a local doctor around where you live, and the government pays the bill. And by the way, it sounds expensive. It's very cheap by comparison. It's actually much better. Now, most importantly, we take care of our vets. By far most importantly. But
I don't have evidence to prove this just yet.
But it's one of those many cases where
Check
it's
it out,
actually less costly and better. Sometimes you'll see a building, it costs less money than another building that costs more because the one that built the one that costs more, this one looks better. The one that's cheaper, it looks better. They say, how much more did you spend for that building? Actually, we spent less. You can do that. It's called, you have to know what you're doing, if you know what you're doing. That's only good for the real estate people in here, of which there are plenty, by the way.
Ahaha, landlords in the building. Whoop, whoop.
This is a tremendous place. It's a great city. It's a great, great city.
He gave a shout out to the
tremendous people
landlords.
And tremendous pride. And I say the same for the state Texas. You know, your governor came to me and he said, when you had your bad hurricane 2 years ago, I gave so much money to Texas, more. He kept coming, more. How about here? How about... So finally, you know that we took good care of Texas. Is that right? We took such good care of Texas. They were looking for the next hurricane. They said, when's the next hurricane? But they had a big...
That is some pretty dark language. I've never heard any government be like, when is the next hurricane? I need that sweet government dough. I need that FEMA up in my shit.
And
what?
They say you had the largest water dump ever. It just didn't stop. It came in, and you thought it was gone, and then it went back out, and it reloaded, right? And it happened 3 times.
Not too much tonight, no. I
came
just
and he wanted to
mostly
build
dropped by in Jeff Max
barrier
here.
so the
He's
water
doing
would-
live
the barrier
from
wouldn't come into certain parts of Texas.
live in the
Columbus,
streets.
sorry, have
I just
one more
found this
request.
like
This is
browsing
after
in
we
the
gave
search.
$28 billion. So
Not
$28
sure
billion.
too much about him, but
I mean,
that's
we watch
really the
debates,
only
but when it
live
comes
one I
to
could
Texas,
find.
We don't watch them too closely, okay? And he said, Governor Abbott, he said, just one more request.
I
and
know,
a
but
very small one, sir."
it's still like heavily developing. I wanted to like get on that more too, because I did a little bit yesterday. I believe it was last night, and the days are blurring at this point, dude. Like, oh man, no more Stony. Usually, I think I did it last night, and I think I still have it up. But I did check on it this morning, and I have been checking on it like from time to time. And I just really haven't seen anything pop up except for here we go. I'm not sure I'm really willing to believe this yet. Fascinating. I have seen great videos though of inside the autonomous zone, and it seems like a genuine, like close to Woodstock movement if they could get enough people. I'm not sure if it's like quite reaching the level of Revolution or Rojava, but it's definitely getting close to like a Woodstock moment. Yeah. I can't click the Washington Post though to check that out, that article, because I'm not willing to pay that fucking subscription fee. Like, in the darkness, democracy dies. Like, in behind a subscription wall. I know it's $1 a month, but like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's the internet, bro. I don't know how we haven't mainstreamed this so much better. It's not my fault Google takes all the ad revenue. Fudge. I'm gonna have to see what the mayor said on more of a local site. Mayor. Jenny. She seems like a person. Seattle mayor says president's threat to Waka. This is the local news I've been following. My Northwest. Seattle mayor says president's threat to send military is unwelcome, comma, illegal. Fuck yeah, bro. I like that she pulled the police out of there. I feel like she's letting this fester like a motherfucker, and I'm digging it. She's letting people really organize and express themselves in the way that she sees fit. Because if she saw it fit to call in the military, I'm sure she would. So I remember that the spark that started the national dialogue we are having today on policing, systemic racism, and how to build the true equity was because of the murder of George Floyd. Jenny began the conference. She noted that there is a need to stop our national pain and the pain experienced by the city in Seattle. Seattle, we are a passionate city. We demand justice. We are at the forefront of change. And I will not allow anyone to distract our city from the work that has to be done and will be done. I do not know this woman's politics, but I feel like she's very close to the community. Durkin said the city is rethinking policing. Cool. I wonder how much of the demands that she's really thinking about. Turn a website into pure text. Also, Firefox probably has an add-on that gets rid of it. Oh, Well, thank you for the heads up. I will have to install that tonight. Thank you. Awesome. Firefox. I haven't used that browser in a while. Chrome has just been so sleek and fast. It's just like it's like a laser gun with this shit. Oh man. Oh boy. So I am digging Seattle's mayor. Not really sure. Apparently NPR is reporting that she said go back to your bunker, which that's hot. That's really hot. If I don't, yeah, not into the president's language. This is perfect grooming for his cult members. I don't know how many there are in number, but I know there are a lot of opportunists out there. Processor, yes. I was listening to Richard Wolff talk about some of the protests today and how important it is for them to start up a coalition. So I've been going into the stream and actually just typing form a coalition all the time, just flooding that. So if you find live streams like Jeff Max here, just keep pushing like coalition propaganda because they need to form strong bonds. That's probably going to be what really holds the whole movement together. Hopefully infighting doesn't tear them apart. But, you know, solidarity from here to there might make them stronger, hopefully. To remain peaceful, and we have to remain strong, protesters said. Yes. We have to stay strong, bro. The autonomous zone is in Capitol Hill, a neighborhood with hipster allure and a history as a gay and counterculture hub. The protest zone has its own acronym, CHAZ. Capitol Hill. The artist CHAZ, formerly known as Capitol Hill. Barrier at the police. The barrier at the police building was a flashpoint for clashes between police and protesters. After it was removed, the Associated Press reported protesters were allowed to march in front of the now boarded up police building and the night remained peaceful. What I had seen from the live streams most recently is that the cops were positioning almost in a siege-like way. Oh, wow. There we go. Just spoke with two people at CHAZ entrances with AR-15s. They coordinate with medics and keep an eye on passing cars, people coming in. The proletariat is armed and dangerous. Black Lives Matter was painted in the streets. Guessing not by city funding. Oh, what up, guy? What up, Tracky? What up, y'all? I'm honored by your presence and this cheering right now. I might mess up a little bit here and there. I'm still getting organized. Still gotta even compose myself. The fact that y'all chilling with me right now. Yes, proletariat is in the streets and is extremely armed and dangerous. Trump's threat to intervene in Seattle is reminiscent of his exchanges with the mayors of Minneapolis and Washington when those cities became rallying points for large protests and George Floyd was killed in police custody. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. Yep, see, and this is just covering old wounds that has led to the moment in CHAZ. Very disappointed by this photo op moment. But this is, I mean, really though, CHAZ is just killing it. It's very inspirational. I just really hope that they can film, like, the most important thing for left movements is to have strong coalitions and freedom of associations. That's what's going to keep us strong. It's hard to keep a decentralized movement on the on the straight and narrow path, but it can be done when we all just want the same thing. And that starts with destroying white supremacy. Hey, hiya, how you doing? I was going over the transition to greatness here because I feel like it was the most rhetorical. It has the most, I want to say, rhetoric of sound bites fit for the elite class. Like, he almost put the language perfectly. if you were talking to investors and what they were to expect for quarterly reviews coming up. It's pretty dark. It reminds me of Outer Worlds. Oh man. It led me into School Choice in America, which is not only a government-funded program, but was heavily pushed by yours truly, PragerU. I don't know if anybody's familiar. Yeah.
We have a way of building a wall. It goes up and down. It moves with the tides. I said, that sounds expensive to me. It moves with the tides, and it's not a lot of money. Could I ask you to do me one small favor and approve it? I said, how much is it? Sir, it's only $10 billion. And I said, start working on it, right? I said, start working on it, because we can do things to get rid of those. You get hit pretty hard here. They get hit pretty hard here, don't they? Were you affected very much when you had, during the hurricanes itself?
We had a lot of people who were displaced that came to this area.
Yeah. Well, we took good care of everybody. So I just want to say this is one of my favorite places. I know we're doing very well here. During the last process, they kept saying that Texas is too close to call. And friends of mine in Texas would say, it's not too close to call.
I don't think I need to hear him bragging about that shit. I don't need to listen to the whole room suck his cock.
One man got on television, actually, and he said, I don't know where you come from, but I don't think this is too close to call. I think he's going to win by a lot. And we won by a lot. It was 8 o'clock, and the polls were closed, and they said, Donald Trump has won the state of Texas. And he said it simultaneously. So
I said I didn't want to hear it, and now I got to hear it
oil
twice.
territory. I think we've done a fantastic job with bringing back the
oil
in a rapid fashion. That looked pretty bad. That looked pretty bad. You had a case, you had a couple of hours where if you bought a barrel of oil, you bought it for $37, as if they gave you $37, okay? There's never been a thing like that ever. Now I see that it's getting close to $40 a barrel, and you're back in business, and we got it done fast, and we got Russia together with Saudi Arabia, and they cut production, and they got it back fast, and we're very, very proud of it. The supply changed rapidly with COVID-19 or whatever you want to call it.
There has been an interesting video that's about the OPEC deal, I think by Visual Politic. Not sure where their politics stands. Definitely has great information, but we have a pretty good amount of time before we actually feel, ooh, shit. Before we feel a lot of devastation from the pullback of oil, because the way that they're going about it at the same time that our government's reopening is just interesting timing about how our oil supply is going to run. I remember Trekkie talking about food shortages possibly coming up here pretty soon. There's no reason to really doubt why there would be oil. Because if it could happen here, why wouldn't it just go all in? Let's see where to go. They cover a wider range of geopolitics. I am not sure of their biases, but I tend to find their information useful. And wherever the oil video went, I mean, here's something relevant as well. That was relevant right there. They already have Texas on the edge of collapse. Let's see. Where's the OPEC deal, though? Specifically the OPEC deal. Maybe it would be easier just to get a little bit more specific. OPEP. Jesus. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I thought I did. Nope. Big J failure. They do so many mother flooding videos. They just flood them up. Man. All right, maybe it wasn't Visual Politic. Maybe I'm getting my YouTube channels mixed up, and that's even worse. Ah, man. What channel had covered that? There was a great channel that had covered the OPEC. Embargo. No, I don't want the embargo. I don't want recent reports. I follow like some channels and now I can't even remember where that came from. I will get back to some people someday about that. I apologize. My sources be jumbling harder than my brain cells. So
I've never heard so many names. You have about 30 names you can call.
just get
this
back
thing.
at
I
what
call
I'm
it the
good
plague
at, which
from
is
China.
listening.
It's a plague. And it's not good. And it's not good. And it's could have been stopped. It could have been stopped in China, but they decided not to do that. And we'll have to figure that one out, won't we? So I just want to thank everybody very much for being here. This is a very spectacular place. And I want to introduce Attorney General Barr and Secretary Carson to say a few words, along with the
It's
Surgeon
already
General,
great. Now we
who's
got to transition
been,
into
a real young
greatness.
star in
It's
the
so great. We
administration.
still
And please, if I
have to
could,
ascend
Bill,
to
Take over,
greatness.
please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
I think what also is to like consider here is I don't know what kind of legacy this man
Thank
is
you, Mr.
building, but
President,
on
and
our
thank you
side,
for,
it's completely
convening this
disgusting. On their
discussion.
side, I
like to
am not
thank, the many,
not
impressive
really
leaders,
into how they're
civic
already
leaders,
writing these
religious
textbooks.
leaders, and, colleagues from law
Yeah, for real.
enforcement are here.
Again and again and
That
again.
ghastly spectacle in Minneapolis was really jarring to the whole nation, and it
Spectacle in
forced us
Minneapolis
to
was jarring to
confront
the
and
whole
think
nation.
about, reflect on long-standing issues.
The vague language, though, is what really pisses me off about leadership, is that we can't be straightforward with the voter base because we already assume that we're already misinformed, ill-informed, or that the narrative isn't straight, so we can't get it straight. It's very frustrating
Our nation.
how much vague, ominous language is used.
Those issues obviously relate to the relationship between law enforcement and the African American community.
The spectacle event in Minneapolis is related
step
to
back a
police
little and take a
issues.
broader
It's
view
very
initially.
vague, very just blanket statements. Just
Thinking about how do we achieve the full American dream for all communities.
It's a weird board meeting. I don't know if it's really a rally or
One of
if
the
it's
reasons
just
I'm
like a
proud to
board
serve in
meeting
this
for the
administration is because I think
administration's
the president
investors.
is moving forward on the critical elements necessary to provide and ensure that opportunity. First and foremost, economic growth. Without growth, there is no opportunity. Second,
It's all linked to the economy. Without the economy, we are nothing. We can go nowhere.
Second, education. I think Condi Rice said a few years ago, it's the civil rights issue of our time, because without a good education, we are not allowing our young people to seize their opportunity.
I think it might be one of the biggest human rights issues of our species. Education is a human right, is it not? I might be talking to a biased crowd, but like, just we're drawing the line at civil right. You're part of a society? Well, here's an education then, and in your neighborhood where you belong. Again, fascinating language every time. Every time. Their rhetoric is so violent and harmful, and yet at the same time cozy and
As the president mentioned,
I
it's
don't know
only
what the
by
salesman
empowering
vigor
parents
is, but it's
and giving
that's what
them
that
the
is.
power to choose
They could
the
sell me my
education for
wallet.
their
I swear to
children.
God.
We're never going to be able to obtain that. Third, I think is
They do.
moral
That's what the whole.
And our young
I was
people, they
just
have to-
listening to this. They want to privatize it, and this is the initiative that they're going for. And the first thing that I found about it was PragerU. PragerU is the first thing you find to push the propaganda on why this is a good idea. But it's actually an initiative by the American Federation for Children. Ta-da. Which don't know too much about. Which actually, we can always go to my favorite place. My favorite. This is my favorite place in the world right here. Yes, sir. Open Secrets. Nope. Federation for Children. Yeah, buddy. Doo-doo. Profile summary. Give me that good. All right, they spend $190,000 a year on lobbying. And it's actually their pro-choice contributions. They usually get a regular contribution of about $555 per contribution. Or is that the contributions that they averagely give out? Oh, wow. They went mostly Democrat here. And yet, Republican president is touting this policy of this foundation is pushing. Mostly on candidates. Source of funding is mostly individuals. Interesting. Which contributions to members of Congress? The Senate seemed to take a big leap there. Look at that. And then look at that. Oh my God. Is that an indication of doubt? I don't know. Oh man. That's spent almost $200,000 on lobbying. Almost. It's fascinating because you can get a good spreadsheet of what they're on. Viewpoint conservative. Wow. Outside spending. They could have fooled me because the last. This is because like all the way up here, right there, boom. Top recipients of the 2020 cycle was a Democrat who received $500. Pretty low. Pretty low. From individuals. The organization itself did not donate. Rather, the money came from the organization's individual members or employees or owners and those individuals' immediate family members. That's even stranger. Themselves cannot contribute to candidates and companies. Totals include subsidiaries and affiliates. Not much spending actually goes through the American Federation into candidates or the like. It's mostly just in the lobbying then. And whatever outside spending means. Oh yeah, I mean, the more that we just show that that corporations, federations, foundations, Asians of all kind are only about money and monetary value, then people will choose humanity. It's an eventual outcome, I believe. I think that's why Marx saw socialism as the only outcome to be out of capitalism. I don't know if he saw the surveillance state coming this hard, though. Soft money donations to parties were banned. So that's interesting. I was hoping to find more about who exactly is American Federation, but it seems to be mostly made up of individuals. Oh, hey. That's where you get some names. A lot of board members. I don't believe I know any of these people. Oh, actually I know that one. Yep. Oh, I've heard of Lieberman. That's interesting. I'm pretty sure these guys hold office. That's a Republican, isn't it not? Pretty sure Scott Walker is a Republican. Yeah, a Republican. All right, so they want to defund public schools. John Schilling. Nice, a shill. A shill is the president. Nice. Wow, education reform movement for 20 years. And his reform is private schooling and tuition. I went over, I don't know if you guys were here for it, but their mission statement was pretty damning. See right here, it says how it is options for low income here normally. It's talking about how it's opportunity for low incomes, but then you realize that the opportunities that they're leaving them is plain language right there. There you go. Stop paying your taxes. Start paying tuition.
Food's here.
Thank you. My food's here. But like 5 more seconds though. So yeah, this is like one of the first things that they had talked about in this board meeting. Obviously it has nothing to do with William Barr, the Attorney General, the highest officer of the land, police officer, the one who polices the entire land, I guess. I don't know. Not really literate on that, but one of the first initiatives that they had, and I was listening to this a little bit live at work, and the reason why I had come to this video back to it was because after listening to like 15-minute clips here and there, it just sounded like they had certain initiatives that they have been working on for a little bit, and that's what they really wanted to talk about were really going to start going into effect in these coming, I don't know, months to years. And it also depends on how much they're anticipating to have another 4 years. As dark as that may seem, as much as I don't want that to happen.
To have the discipline to seize the opportunity, to make momentary sacrifices for later gain. And traditionally, that has come, and people can find it perhaps from many sources, but traditionally that has come from religion, which our founders believed was the foundation of our republic.
What? That's news to me. I mean, I get that everybody had their religion at that time, and manifest destiny was the justification for gentrifying Native Americans before gentrifying was cool, but I guess, I'm sorry, I'm really bad at language, but indigenous people, and I'm sorry, I'm really bad at this. It's just the point I was trying to reach is that I lost it in these motherfuckers. My rambling sometimes can fall off a little bit if I lose that track. It's just, yeah, the material conditions have been set for so long, it's hard to also ignore history.
Issue of our time, because without a good education, we are not allowing our young people to seize their opportunities and pursue their dreams.
And I agree with that. Without proper education, and it's a human right. It's a human right. Everybody across this goddamn planet should have a proper education.
By empowering parents
it's strange.
And giving them the power to choose the education for their children that we're ever going to be able to obtain that.
Interesting. See, when I was listening, I didn't know that there was some people that would. I wonder if that's the president or something who's like involved in this. He's like, hey, that's my department. Hey.
Third, I think, is moral discipline.
He's all waving.
And our young people, they have to have the discipline to seize the opportunity, to make momentary sacrifices.
And what worries me, too, about when authority talks about people needing discipline, I don't think they mean the power of will. I think what they mean is discipline.
For later gain. And traditionally, that has come, and people can find it perhaps from many sources, but traditionally that has come from religion, which our founders believed was the foundation of our republic.
Yeah, religion is the discipline of the soul. It's, in fact, the religion of America is the one of the punished soul, the sinning soul, the soul that must be must find redemption before really even knowing what he did wrong. Oh, yeah. I mean, I love a lot of thoughts and idea, but there is poison if you sip too much of the Kool-Aid. And ours is very dangerous. The evangelicals are scaring the fuck out of me these days.
And we have to stop policies that undermine religion or relegate religion out of the public square.
Separation of church and state, ladies and gentlemen.
Now I get to my job, which is...
Is anybody
safety.
excited to live in Gilead?
Without safety, you
it's
cannot
The Handmaid's
have
Tale.
progress. You can't have a life, a decent
I'm not.
life in a
I'm not
community.
excited for that.
And, you know, this was struck home to me 30 years ago when I visited Trenton when I was Attorney General last time, and I went to a small barber shop in an African-American neighborhood. And there were people there in their 60s and 70s, and they said, Mr. Barr, we're in our golden years, and we are living behind bars. Look down the street. All the bars are on our windows, and the criminals run free on the street. Now, we've made a lot of progress since then. The crime rate has been cut in half. And a big part of that has been...
No, it will not, comrade. It will not happen to us.
And the progress we've made in policing, and yes, the progress that police departments have made in building relationships with the community. I think law enforcement has understood for a long time that there is distrust in the African American community toward the law enforcement system. And when you reflect on our history,
Fascinating that it's only the law enforcement system.
you could understand why. Because
It's
for
nothing
most of
else.
our history, just up until the last 60 years,
Just the last 60
institutions
years.
in this country, the laws and the institutions were explicitly discriminatory. There was not equal protection.
That's
of
all
law
we should be
by
thinking
law.
about. Is the
And
last
it's only
60
been
years.
since Jim Crow that our laws
Since Jim Crow.
Have been changed to provide for equal.
Since Jim Crow, their laws have changed. What about redlining not changing until the 80s? Let's go back to that. Everybody wants to talk about that, right?
Justice. And what we've had really
Let's
since,
check.
and so
Let's
the
check.
civil rights effort up until that time
I don't think we're going to get
was
like
to
fundamental
tear down
developments until...
But I don't think now is the time to be tearing down our institutions, because we've been on a march for the last 50 years of reforming our institutions. And we don't need to tear them down. We have to be mature about this, and when we see problems, we have to redouble our efforts to reform our institutions and make sure they're in sync with our values. And I don't think anyone who's honest would deny that we've made a lot of progress in policing over the last 50 years. And in fact, you know, one of the things about this episode in Minneapolis was how fast both the state and federal law enforcement responded to dealing with that action. So I think that,
hey Rosie,
while we saw something very bad, it has helped perhaps galvanize the will of the country to bring good out of
stay
it.
close.
And we can't let that incident obscure the fact that progress has been made, that policemen are by and large, by overwhelming majority, good, decent people who care about their community and put their lives on the line for us, their neighbors.
I mean, we all also know that they're lying with that language of the police being their neighbors. There's many outside cops brought to many different areas, and that shit is not cool. What we need is actual neighborhood watches, people invested in the communities. Let's get it. Not people interested in a paycheck and a badge to bully. Protesters have also hung signs. Yeah, property of the people. See, I'm still waiting for really any developments to go on. I think since the mayor has decided to stay back from the situation, I think it has given the protesters ample time to kind of set up a little bit of organizing to see how they're going to stay longer than, a couple of days. I don't know how much the negotiations are going on. That's something that's definitely not being reported that much. It's already got 22 million results. It's probably including a lot of shit that's irrelevant, but good God. Seattle Times, no police reports filed about use of weapons to extort Capitol Hill businesses. Because, I'm pretty sure they're having everybody there by, the rule of freedom of association. I know people aren't being held against their will, but at the same time, they are within a zone that is, we can call it occupied, but it's the people's occupation. It's the a stepping stone to the people's dictatorship, the proletariat's dictatorship. It's a very necessary stepping stone. I don't want it to get worse and more violent. Who the fuck would want that? We want peaceful means, but that begins with the disarming of the police, and in fact, they should meet the protesters' demands, and that will de-escalate the situation incredibly. So apparently at 8:14. This is one of the most recent updates, looking about 10 minutes ago for me. Things were mostly peaceful in the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone early Thursday evening, but there was at least one tense moment between protesters and police, several of which had returned to the East Precinct on Thursday afternoon. Around 6 p.m., a group of Seattle police officers who were attempting to leave the East Precinct fired pepper spray at CHAZ demonstrators near 12th Avenue and Pike Street, according to two people who said they saw the encounter. I mean, this is the beginning of something, but it's going to take solidarity and coalitions to mutual aid to keep it alive. And amplifying it is definitely going to help, but boy, do they need numbers. Numbers is what's definitely going to solidify the W on this one. One of the witnesses showed reporter video and photo from the scene immediately after the incident took place. In the footage, one nearby demonstrator appeared to have been sprayed. Protesters were heckling and filming officers as they attempted to leave the precinct along 12th Avenue when officers told the protesters to stay back and shove them. 2 officers then were sprayed pepper spray from red canisters, witnesses said. We were trying to let them out, said one protester. All right. So they had a small police encounter, not too much, and it didn't seem to cause a massive uproar. Not sure if it's really winding down. I'm not sure how the guard duty works either.
It's just like it's one image that sums up the whole thing about the police. They see that
DJ
pink umbrella
Jeff Mack
triggered them to fucking mace and tear gas a whole crowd. They're out of control. They are rioting. We're not.
And it's mostly looked peaceful on their side, too. Like, I very rarely see any altercations in these live videos. It's mostly people just sitting around. This guy's got 1,000 views on this shit right now. It's mostly been people gathering and watching documentaries.
I don't show anyone's gonna make fun of my dick. Like they'll say you got a little dick because you carry a big gun. I'm like, I don't care.
What did I just come into?
I'm not gonna see it. I'm not gonna show it to them. The only people I actually show my dick to have already made their peace with the size of it. So I don't 35 of the 50 biggest cities have Democratic mayors. Yeah, that's just they skew. Big cities skew Democrat. That's just the way it is.
I hope somebody clips that or something, because, like, what the fuck? Oh, man, I did not mean to walk into you talking about your dick, bro. I thought this had something to do with Seattle.
Just like short guy syndrome is real. Yeah, Napoleon complex is very real. I've seen so much of that. In fact, the guy on the corner today, the Glenn Beck.
I did not mean to rage your shit, dude, and I'm sure we're on two opposite sides of this, especially since he's verified. Oh my god. Shit. Is it worth sticking around into that? Is it worth sticking around in that? I don't know if I'll find any dunks, but there might be some dunks. Oh, man. The ANCAPers are secretly jealous of any left-wing movement. They want freedom to capitalize. Oh, man. There's one video that I have set up for like a stream that I was watching this channel, and I've really appreciated the interview, or not the interview, but the information that this guy puts out. And then one video I was listening to, I find out that he is slightly pro ANCAP, and I lost my mind. Just a little bit of ANCAP, bro. Just a little bit of ANCAP, and I was like, man, how you cannot put this in economics videos because you're talking to libertarians. Is this what it probably is an ANCAPper?
Lots of people down there with veterans hats on. There's a lot of old people down there, too.
I'm worried, too, that he is live streaming from Spring Hill Suites in the Marriott Seattle downtown, and he has a little patch that I don't know all of the origins of, but I know these are dog whistles.
Excuse me. Any news? That's why I wasn't doing a whole lot, because I was like, fuck, I'm on 5G. It's sucking up my data. Why did my son send me a picture? Fuck. Brand new fucking quad tire. I don't know how he fucking did that. I don't know if you focused on it, but he split it right down the goddamn.
Yeah, his people in the chat say BLM was funded by Nazi collaborator George Soros. Great.
Tire.
You crack racist jokes back.
And my son had a flat on his car today. Gotta get new tires for his car. All the protesters got COVID. A lot of them, I'm sure, are. I was trying very careful not to touch things if I didn't have to, and I wore my mask to make sure I didn't infect anybody else. But
I thought wearing a mask was brain control. I thought you were brainwashed if you wore a mask. Hmm. All right. But you get the idea. So he is definitely on the right. I know. I got my Trump check actually before I even got a Soros check because I paid my taxes like a couple months early, and somehow Soros just ain't coming through. I went to my protest downtown as well, and I still haven't gotten my check in the mail.
The CHAZ
Trump
salute
paid me to
is
go, though.
the same as the Nazi salute, except with a closed hand. I haven't seen any of that down here. Do you have a bug out bag and plan? I got a get home bag in the back of my trunk right now in the car. But bugging out is a stupid idea. I don't know who comes up with these fallacies and these fantasies of I'm going to bug out and survive in the wild. No, if you have bad shit happen, hunker down. If you're out and something bad happens, get the fuck home and hunker down. That's why I call mine a get home bag. Hey, Yankee, are you conservative or liberal or independent? Well, politically, I'm an independent. I used to be I was a Republican all through college and everything else, and then my young adult years. And then under Bush and Cheney, I became an independent because I went to the rally in Portland, Oregon, and they made us sign a fealty pledge to get in, that you couldn't disagree with anything happening and you had to react positively to everything and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, fuck that, I'm an independent now.
That's a good reason. That's a good reason.
Kent Torres, I can't wrap my head around so many people upset at the authoritarian police a month ago. Now those same people want to grab their ARs and help the police squash the protests. Yeah, cognitive dissonance. Yeah, dissonance. Dissonance. Yeah, that's the hypocrisy. That's what I don't understand. It's like, fuck the authorities for shutting down the businesses and blah. And now it's, hey, authorities, go shut those people down. Are there any cookies left? No, cookies gone. There's only 4 cookies.
I can't.
Like a big bag of cookies.
I can't smash them yet. I need a little bit more information.
What are the goals of the CHAZ, and how long do you expect to be there? I don't see them being there a whole lot longer. I say maybe a couple days at most, because like I say, there's like no direction. And if you asked 10 people what's got to happen before you go, I think you'd get 10 different answers. And if schools opened back up, most of them would be gone right away.
What is he doing there? And why
or if a lot of them have to go back to work,
like
I think a lot of them would go away. Authorities are stopping peaceful association. Fuck them. Authorities are stopping rape, murder, looting, and burning towns down. Fuck the looters. Makes sense. Not cognitive dissonance. No, it isn't, because they're not stopping fucking looting, burning, and raping. They're stopping peaceful protesters. They're stopping people that are fighting back against the police department that treats people who they don't feel are worthwhile like dogs, black, white, whatever, as long as you're poor. They're fighting back against a government that no longer serves the people. That's not the same fucking thing. If they were down here taking out rapists, more power to them. But that ain't what they're fucking doing. And if you can't see the difference, well, that's not their fault. That's your fault.
¿Qué pasó?
That's your problem. You need to educate yourself. You need to quit being such a bigot and a closed-minded asshole.
Sitting on the table out there.
I'm sorry.
You can see the destruction. Where? I was here all day. I didn't see any destruction.
Wait, hold on.
Call the fire department.
What do you call when the police murder? In France, you call the fire department. I gotta show them. I gotta look it up now at this point, because I had seen like last year that like the fucking yellow vest protesters and the fire department teamed up.
That's fucking crazy. Will you eat your food?
Dude, the whole planet is literally like, fuck this shit, and they're like throwing shit over and like.
That thing, that video of that guy was just like, it's like that. If you want it, you can get it. Let me. Oh my god. Shit.
I apologize. My roommate has no boundaries. Oh, sorry, I'm just fucking with you.
I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry.
You're a little bit sorry, and I appreciate that.
I sent you this one. You not be looking at your shit?
Oh man, have you guys been following this? Yeah, you showed me that one. Yeah, that one, cause like it's pretty much like the whole globe at this point. Yeah. It is though. Like, then everybody has, like, their own issues. Canada is still dealing with, like, almost the same kind of racism, which is kind of funny. But then, like, France is on a totally different level from, like, almost 2 or 3 years ago. It's almost 2 years they've just been losing their shit. And the fire department's like, yo, support the streets. Yo, are they actually, like, blasting the cops with that shit, though? No, it's the cops blasting the firefighters. Reform the pension system. I was talking to my coworker today about how they're coming after everybody's pension just before it's right there. Before you can get it, just, there it goes. You know, your retirement, 401k. As they print more money to, like, give company bailouts and allow certain employees to, like, work and stuff, and giving us checks as well, they kind of devalue my mom's 401k. Printing money isn't really healthy for people's retirement money. Just saying. So yeah, I mean, this could be like a global like thing for like a year or whatever, you know? It just depends on how everybody handles it. Have you seen Seattle? I've shared some shit on the FB. Seattle's been pretty calm right now, but like we were covering it because they have an autonomous zone where literally they rule the streets right now and the cops are pretty scared to cross their line. And this guy, I fell into his video and he was like, it says that he's in Seattle, but he's in a hotel room in Seattle reporting on what's going on in Seattle. And when I clicked on his video, he's immediately just talking about people talking about his dick. And I thought he was going to be covering what was going on. Look at that. That's kind of a cute face, though. Like, hey.
Like his shit or his actual dick?
When I came in, he's like, you know, people have said things about my dick, and I don't care if they think it's small, and something like in that vein. I just thought it was funny because, like, if you're gonna pull me into your stream, that was probably the way to do it. No politics, just like get to that personal shit, you know.
I saw this thing that was like, do you know who Glenn Danzig is?
Glenn Danzig?
Yeah.
I know a man by the name of Danzig.
I'm sure it's the same guy.
Is he a punk artist? Is he a member of a band?
Is that him?
Yeah. I don't know if that's his first name though, is it?
I'm assuming so since they put out
Glenn?
Have you heard of the shopping cart rule? For the test of that?
Yeah. I don't know if he came up with that. My cousin shared that picture. I'm not sure he came up with it though. More to develop on that. If Danzig came up with
by the general opinion of the civilized world, okay? You can say, oh, you know what, America, we can do whatever we want. The civilized world says it's fucked up and inhumane and it's a war crime.
I think
doesn't
this
really
dude
matter.
is like actually just like he's doing a live stream from the protests in CHAZ, which is the Capitol Hill Autonomy Zone, and he's just ranting by himself. Not really covering what's going on over there. He's just talking about how the system's bullshit, which is probably effective when thousands of people.
For the civilized world's opinion, to the end that this prohibition shall be universally accepted as a part of international law,
Wait,
binding alike.
Is my food in the fridge? Wait, I'll be right back.
No, it's not in the fridge.
Can I put it in the fridge?
Of course not. Don't you want that bacteria to grow on it?
Yeah, a little bit.
We're pushing 20 minutes already.
I need that anti-Rona bacteria. Oh, shit. My apologies. That was my roommate and semi-autonomous co-host. I don't know if I want to keep watching Jeff Mack's stream, though, because we all are familiar with that. The
rationale breaks down, and you just can't make sense anymore. You can't talk to these people because it's just, it's not a crazy, radical thing to say, dude.
I mean, the people that are in the chat, too, that are in that he's...
I'm never going to be able to interview somebody here.
Our broadcast.
Yeah, this is going to be...
extremely toxic.
No, actually... No, I will. Hold on. I'm not going to...
Rosebud, what are you doing right now?
I'm going to literally wait in line to ask a question. I'm white is still not my right. The brown acid that is... No, being white, actually, this is what you're supposed to be doing, trying to educate people and trying to... If I could just change one mind, I guess that would be worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Raz is cool and all, but, you know, he's not the whole movement.
Shit, I think we're out. Video interrupted. Bummer. I was just trying to flood it as much as, like, there was people talking shit. I was just trying to flood it with positive messages, but there's so much toxicity in that chat. We do want to see the garden, though. James Smith right here has the point. He has scored the point. We do need to see the garden. A garden is going to be the success of this movement. It is going to be the bedrock of this movement. I swear on that. Yo, I don't... Jazzy the only one live besides Homeboy and Hotel Room. And Homeboy and
don't take them
Hotel
for
Room
take their word for
nice
what it's
enough
worth when they
intentions.
tell you they'll support you when you are the one.
But he is also just talking shit from a hotel room eating Pringles. And now I'm watching him eat Pringles. This is compelling shit.
I think Biden winning would probably be better for the Second Amendment, actually. Because I've seen so many people fucking lay down who used to actually fight for the Second Amendment. Now it's all about profit and all about having a civilian action group and all this other shit. When they could be just speaking out. But they won't because I don't want to make the Trump people mad because they buy my t-shirts. Jackers56 says, whoops, it disappeared. Sig P229 stuck in the cocker mode. Hammer won't drop on firing pin. That ain't good. But the hammer shouldn't drop on the firing pin when you're fucking cocking. But without being able to see what you're talking about, I don't know what to do.
There it is.
Is there anyone out sleeping in the street? I did see that last time, a couple days ago. But I didn't see it today because it's daytime. Like I said, when I go over there tonight, I'll see. Hopefully I'll recognize the movie if they're playing a movie. I didn't recognize the last movie.
Why is he going there in the night? Like, why is he just sitting in his hotel room during the day all day and then... I'm not feeling this Yankee Marshall dude in a weird way, but at the same time, he seemed like he had some weird well-intentions. I guess Small Gamer has got camera feeds of what's going on in Seattle. It seems like, yeah, like right now it's just freedom of association and seeing whether or not they can get coalitions and organizations that will move towards their greater goals. If that does not succeed, I don't see this lasting as a community or a movement. But that's just my personal bias, unintelligent opinion. Hey, thank you every day. I will check out your stuff as soon as I am hopped off of here. I hope you stay blessed and hella revolutionary. Oh, wow. It is going to be a slow development, but unfortunately the catalysts and the big events are going to happen when I'm not paying attention. And when most of us aren't paying attention, it's going to be like a breaking news moment. It's going to be either overwhelmingly joyful or sad. I'm not really sure. That's the risk we take with going against the government with autonomous fucking zones. It is going to be like the craziest art district, though. And I feel like if anybody has the means to travel there, even if it's for a day or two, it's probably a good idea. It's a good broadcast, though. Just observation. Kind of creepy on almost surveillance state level, but it's not like it's covering every part of the city, every square inch. So that's good. Stay blessed on that. Yeah, it's unfortunate things have to go this way instead of having a government for the people, by the people. Instead, we have the board, the intergalactic governance of the board.
And we can't lose sight of the fact, and can't let this
Can't
event
lose sight of it.
obscure the fact
Nope.
that
No
the
obscurity.
real oppression
Nothing but
and
transparency
danger
over here.
To our communities comes more from violent crime and lawlessness than it does from the police.
Dangerous, dangerous, dangerous. More danger comes from crimes and lawlessness than police.
Now we've never
We've
never had a president who's more committed to reforming law enforcement. And he's done that with the First Step Act and with the first police commission since Lyndon Johnson. And I'm very optimistic about, what we're going to be able to do, given his leadership, but also given the leadership.
I do want to think about that for a second, because he did speak about how communities are safer with police because they prevent violent crimes and lawlessness. Mappingpoliceviolence.org. Boom. Another great source for y'all to spread around and share. Mappingpoliceviolence.org. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty heavy crime rate, in my opinion. Oh yeah. I don't like how they did it, but it is very compelling how they were able to capture cases like this, like how they literally pop up through a timeline. And it's by the day as well. And it's almost like seeing explosions on the map too. It's devastating. Black people were 24% of the total killed, despite being only 13% of the population. Disproportionate society. Talking about equality. So great statistics about how the cops do not help or even correlate to levels of violent crime. Levels of violent crime in U.S. cities do not determine rates of police violence. They just don't do it. They just don't do it. They just don't do it. Look at how low that rate is compared to how many violent crimes there are. But then, can't forget the fact that 99% of killings aren't even charged as a crime. We're missing like a whole set of data points. A whole bunch of data points there that we could be adding to this crime rate that seems to not be perpetuated by the police system. There's a lot of dots to connect to the failures of our police system. I just think that's one of them. And this map's great. It really paints America what it is, which is a war zone, mostly in where the 13 colonies started. And slower expansion out this way. It's almost like Manifest Destiny, police violence style. Oh, even Alaska got some, huh? I did not know Alaska was that below the... Oops, shit. We still have like a little chunk of land underneath Canada. Those sneaky sons of bitches. We took this little tiny sliver from Canada. Like, nope. We're taking that piece too. I guess it's all the way around this line, this whole thing. Does that make this American waters over here? Like United Statesians? Or as Trekkie puts it, Statesicans? Is that the Statesican line right there? Right next to the water? Again, their language. Investors, investment.
Which around the country increasingly have become better and better led. And I think the police profession is itself committed to addressing the issues that we saw in Minneapolis and completing the process of professionalizing policing in this country. And as the President said, we're working on a number of things through the commission that he set up and also through an executive order to propel that process even faster by looking at how we can encourage the adoption of guidelines about the use of force that are acceptable both to the community.
Do we want the Trump administration redefining the guidelines, or do we want the people to do it? Because that's the movement set lines. You're either going to have CHAZ do it, which if you haven't seen it, Yep. I think this fits the movement very properly indeed. Right there, boom. These demands are perfect. Of course, they can be, edited to a more perfect union, but those demands set by Seattle, chef's kiss, bro.
Police profession, but also to encourage certification of police forces, and also through such activities as increasing grants to encourage the use of co-responders. More and more our police are being asked to deal with problems that hasn't previously been the problem of law enforcement. They have to deal with homeless people. They have to deal with a lot of mental health issues. They have to deal with
not been a police issue?
Drug addiction, the drug addicts and so forth, and providing some additional support to them.
It's funny that he makes like the leftist's argument of what kind of police reform we need, but with like a much more callous and lazy delivery. No zealous whatsoever for change. Absolutely none.
Police in these areas is going to be important. So let me just say that
I miss Bernie's
Department of
energy.
Justice is committed to support the
That was at
President's
least nice
efforts
to
here,
see
do
something
all we
from the
can
establishment,
to
but-
bring good out of this bad incident. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Good job, Bill.
Surgeon General, please, go ahead. You want to go? Go ahead, why don't you go, then Ben will go. Is that okay?
All right.
Good, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Mr. President.
The Surgeon Gen.
Appreciate it.
We haven't heard from the task force in like a month. How's that corona doing? It's been like a month since
Thank
we've
you,
heard from you,
everyone,
dog.
for coming today. Thank you to the panelists. I just want to start off by saying that many people across the country and across the great state of Texas are hurting right now due to the tragedy that occurred to George Floyd. And I just want to extend my condolences to the Floyd family and to the entire Texas community, because I know that you all live together, you work together, you play together, and you hurt together here in Texas. And so I want you to know that I feel that for you.
Come on.
The President asked me to give you a quick update on America's COVID-19 response. Thanks to cooperation with state and local partners, we're making progress against the virus. We are, and towards a safe reopening. Through strong public and private partnerships, America has now done more than 20 million tests. And that number's a big number. It's not just about the number, it's also about how many of those tests are coming back positive. We have a positive rate under 6% nationally, and from a public health perspective, if we're under 10% positive, we're doing a good job. So there's a lot of challenges out there, but I want you all to know that we are moving in the right direction. The data shows that we are moving in the right direction as a nation. And this has happened in part thanks to opening of over 500 community-based testing sites through the work of private sector partners in the United States Public Health Service, which I helped lead with Admiral Giroir. 70% of those sites are in CDC-designated vulnerable areas. That means that we're taking the testing to those who need it the most, to those who are most at risk. We also have testing at 92% of America's community health centers, which predominantly serve low-income areas and communities of color. We've helped equip our frontline workers, our healthcare heroes, with 94 million N95 respirators, 149 million surgical masks, and more than 1 billion gloves. And a large proportion of those supplies, at the President and the Secretary's direction, are going to nursing homes. And I just want to, I see the governor over there, I want to give you all a shout out. Texas has led the way in nursing home testing. 100% of their nursing homes have been tested. They're leading the way in testing people in corrections facilities. Over 95% of people in corrections facilities have been tested. That is something you all should be tremendously proud of.
That testing was done. You should be proud to be tested.
And these efforts have allowed states to proceed with a safe reopening while we work with states to monitor the incoming data. We know we're going to have clusters while we respond to spikes and we adjust policies as needed. But I want you to know that safe reopening is crucial for other areas in health too. We need Americans to be able to return to cancer screenings. My wife just finished cancer treatment. If she'd had to wait 6 months to get her cancer screening, she might not be here today. We need people to get their surgeries. We need people to get their vaccinations. 4.2 million children are behind on vaccinations now because of the COVID closures. We know every 1% increase in unemployment equates to a 1.3% increase in suicides. 1.3% increase in suicides. So we want to reopen safely. We also have to remember that being shut down has health consequences beyond COVID. We know that being out of school is bad for your health. We need to get our kids back in school safely. I have a 15, a 14, and a 10-year-old, and so can you tell I've been saying that a lot? But we know that COVID-19 has a tragically disproportionate burden on communities of color. Black Americans hospitalized at 4.5 times higher rates than whites. Hospitalization rates 3.5 times higher for Hispanics than whites, and 5 times higher for American Indians and Alaska Natives. The fact is, this virus is exploiting and exacerbating pre-existing health disparities, and these disparate outcomes and opportunities for health are in part the anger, the frustration, and the fear that we're seeing manifest in protests around the country. And that's why it's important for people to know that beyond talking about the problem, at the President's direction, at Secretary Azar's direction, HHS and the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council, or WARC, are focusing resources on minority communities. HHS recently allocated $15 billion to Medicaid providers and $10 billion to safety net hospitals, both groups of providers that disproportionately serve Americans of color. And I spent the last 10 years working at a safety net hospital, Eskenazi Hospital in Indianapolis. I can tell you, those are the places that are doing the work. Those are the places that, at the President's direction, we're focusing our resources towards. We're working with the Consortium of Black Medical Schools to fund and scale local efforts in communities that, again, reach communities of color. CDC now requires all testing data reported by states include information on race, ethnicity, and zip code, so we can continue to further refine and focus our strategy on the hardest hit communities.
I mean, we should just have everybody download an app.
To make ongoing care for many medical conditions safe, accessible, and convenient for the patients and for healthcare professionals. Again, we can't afford to let people continue to go without their care. And the administration's emphasis on public-private partnerships is allowing us to progress towards a vaccine and treatments at a record pace as a part of Operation Warp Speed. I want to add that
Speed.
SAMHSA has just funded 3 community behavioral health clinics right here in Texas with the CARES Act funding.
Warp Speed. Yeah, not today. Is a public-private partnership to facilitate an unprecedented pace the development, manufacturing, and distribution of COVID-19 countermeasures between components of HHS, CDC, FDA, like he had said, posted May 15th. It's a funding initiative. That's all they're really doing is getting investors to invest in all of these programs, which is fighting the coronavirus pandemic and also privatizing all of your schools. Now 5 finalists for funding have been chosen. That's total dog shit. Of course, it's the biggest companies getting the funding to find the vaccine, but that is not for finding it, but actually for the production of it. Okay, so they do have to development still. 5 years in the past. With Warp Speed, they're just going to skip all the implications of most 5-year trials and just get it out quicker so that they can have doses by early 2021. I think without proper testing, we do take a chance of having higher health risks from a vaccine. If you want people to think that vaccines cause children autism, gives children autism, one way is to rush the studies on these medicines and vaccines. That'll for sure give people room to speculate on what's wrong, but it could also create those real problems without proper study. I don't want to have immunity if I'm going to have diabetes or some shit. That's, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying. Alright. So it's just basically skipping most normal regulations because we are in a pandemic. I just think it leaves room
Some
for
of your congressional
irresponsibility.
representatives are here. I want to say thank you to you
Our
all
country's
for
afraid
passing that
of
into the
going on a
president to
longer
sign in
lockdown
to address
because my
COVID-19
job.
and behavioral health needs. These facilities integrate mental health, substance abuse treatment, and physical health care in one setting and provide 24/7 crisis intervention services. Another notable mental health awareness training grant is in Austin, where funds are used to train community health officials, including law enforcement, and we have many of them in the crowd today, on recognizing signs and symptoms of mental illness and mental health crises and how to help an individual who's struggling. That's all part of reform. That's all part of reform and the
You almost
positive
said
direction,
politics.
giving our frontline workers the tools and the training they need to be able to take care of these difficult situations. As Mayor Sylvester Turner said at George Floyd's funeral, we must encourage business leaders to invest in our underserved communities.
Holy fuck. I mean, one thing that they definitely need to stop doing is talking about George Floyd when it comes to the fucking economy. If they do not stop this fucking language, I swear to God, every building will be burned down. I do not condone that behavior, but stop using his fucking name for the economy. Fuck you. Gross. It's gross.
White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council is all about.
Gross.
I have an upcoming Surgeon General's report on community health and economic prosperity, which aims to mobilize businesses to invest deeply and over time in the health of their communities. Finally, to focus on chronic conditions that disproportionately impact Black and brown people and may worsen because of COVID, Secretary Azar has instructed my office to accelerate the release of 2 calls to action. The first on maternal health, addressing the fact that women of color suffer more complications and
Good night,
a
foes.
much higher risk of dying around childbirth. Black women are 4 to 5 times more likely to die around childbirth than white women. Native American women
That's
are more
almost
likely
my
to die
time,
around
too.
childbirth than white women. And that's after you control for income, after you control for education, after you control for every known factor that we have.
What's
My second call to
interesting
action is on hypertension control.
is that he did bring up the fact that they brought in many variables that show that black women are disproportionately treated in hospitals and further causing death. He still was not able to really finish weaving that basket into which is systemic racism. And that's because this guy over here is sitting there. This guy right here. The whole camera angle that they've been doing too is very interesting. It did take me a second because I did not realize until it panned out, but Trump is actually sitting between black and white. And there's a lot of symbolic language we could talk about with that. But there's also just the fact that, racism might die soon, but classism, oof. The white man may be oppressed by the black soon enough, so long as they got the money, baby. I don't know. I really hope with the smashing of white supremacy and racism, capitalism falls right after, immediately as the domino right behind. But this is not giving me hope. Money talks. Money makes deals. Money runs the government.
For all Americans, hypertension is common, it's costly, and it's treatable, and yet control rates are low and stalled, especially in communities of color. So I just want to close by saying that as we reopen, the basic public health recommendations we've emphasized remain important. We've flattened the curve, but that doesn't mean that COVID has gone away, that it's any less contagious, that it's any less deadly to vulnerable communities.
True.
So if you don't want to listen to me, listen to Hall of Fame pitcher Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan filmed a PSA at the governor's direction, and he said, number one, wash your hands. Wash them more than you've ever washed.
I really wish they played it in the background rather than having him talk about it. But I think the sad thing is that I've been streaming for a couple of hours and I still have the old 9 to 5 at the very end. Not too excited about it, but I'm just being honest with you. So what I wanted to do is hop back in here, allow Cornel West to speak some truth for a little bit, and say my goodnight. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and please stay hella revolutionary. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you all so much. I appreciate the engagement earlier. I can't admit how much I do this for absolutely no other reason than hopefully contributing to the ideals of a delusional utopia that I dream of. And I know that some of us are excited to see that one day too. CHAZ is a great inspiration of it. Minneapolis is hopefully going to start an autonomous zone soon. I really hope, because that would really push the movement even further. And if we can get the coalitions across the whole United States, that would be amazing. But for now, I started the podcast at the beginning with Cornel West, and I want to end the podcast with Cornel West because he kills words and ideas and everything I try to much better than I do. So I'm going to allow him to take it away.
And it has something to do with the Socratic legacy of Athens. It has something to do with line 38a of Plato's Apology. The unexamined life is not worth living. And we know the Greek actually said the unexamined life is not a life of the human. And we know our English word human comes from the Latin humando, which means what? Burial and burying. We're beings on the way to death. And you can't talk about race matters. You can't talk about what it means to be human without talking about wrestling with forms of death and what it means to be on intimate relations with forms of death. Early physical deaths indeed, but also social death. That 244 years of white supremacist slavery attempt to make them socially dead, in the language of the great Orlando Patterson in his 1982 classic, Slavery and Social Death. Unsuccessful resistance, resilience still kicks in, but the attempt to impose a social death and then a psychic death. What is psychic death? Well, for black people in the modern world, it has to do with trying to wrestle against the forces of niggerization. Because to niggerize the people is try to convince them they're less beautiful, they're less intelligent, they're less moral, to instill in them unbelievable fear, to instill in them this sense that they ought to be scared all the time and intimidated all the time, laughing when it ain't funny, scratching when it don't itch. Wearing the mask, as Paul Laurence Dunbar said it in his great poem. That's why one of the most powerful sentences in James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time is that line in the letter to the nephew, don't, comma, be afraid. That's why Marcus Garvey would always have a black person in front of every major demonstration with a big sign, the Negro is not afraid, even if they're sitting there shaking, carrying the sign. It's why the great Mary Ellen Pleasant, who was the first black woman millionaire in America, known as the mother of human rights in California. She happened to be a black domestic maid who married a white robber baron, and he dropped dead. She got all his money, and she didn't kill him. It was a natural thing. But never forget Mary Ellen Pleasant. She gave $800,000 to a white brother named John Brown. That's how he survived financially on his way to Harper's Ferry. And she would start every lecture all over California with the line, I'd rather be a corpse than a coward. Just like Martin Luther King Jr. would always say to his staff, I'd rather be dead than afraid. Wrestling with what it means to be human, being on intimate forms with death, and the echoes going back to Plato when he says philosophy itself is a meditation on and preparation for death. Philosophia, love of wisdom, meditation on, preparation for death. And even Seneca, and we don't expect too much profundity from the Romans, they're so busy running an empire, very much like we Americans. They used to say he or she learns how to die, unlearns slavery. I've told my students for 41 years of my very blessed life of teaching, when you come in my classroom, you here to learn how to die.